Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. John Henry Soto here with you, as always, from Nashville, Tennessee. It is 7 a.m. here, and it is July 1st, 2026. We are well past halfway point of this year, if you can believe it. And it's been a great year so far. I hope it's been a great year for you as well. We're going to be diving in today. This is episode number 18 in the series of JHS Talent Management Journey, and you're gonna be able to see these episodes. They're gonna be all put together into a playlist on one of the platforms, on all the platforms, and you'll be able to actually review them later on. All the information here is going to be on how to sign people, how to work with artists, the artists I do have, and what we're currently working on together, how to network, how to market, how to promote, how to use social media. All of it is in there. And today we're going to talk about filmmaking because JHS Talent Management is also about filmmaking and music and what filmmaking taught me about leadership. And we're going to dive into that. I'm going to go quickly here because I have a tendency of putting in my own things while I'm reading, and then we go past 30 minutes. So I like to try to keep this episode, every episode, under 30 minutes if possible. All right. So, filmmaking has taught me more about leadership than any book or seminar ever could. That's a fact. When you're directing a film, you're responsible for bringing together people with different talents, personalities, and perspectives to accomplish one common goal. Actors, cinematographers, sound engineers, makeup artists, editors, producers, and crew members all have an important role to play. As a director, I've learned that leadership isn't about controlling people. It's about helping everyone do their best work while keeping the vision moving forward. You know, what's funny is I worked as a manager for a health club industry for many, many years. And in the health club industry, you know, as a manager, you have a lot of different personalities, just like you do on any film set and you do on any really anywhere where you've become a leader that you have to lead a group. You have a lot of different personalities there, right? So you can't just have one way of communicating to every single person and think that you're going to make a difference in their lives because not everyone receives communication the same way. Some people need a little bit more understanding, a little bit more communication, they need a little bit more empathy, whatever it is that they need. It's your job, not only as a director, but if you're leading in any way, any type of leadership, you have to communicate to that person in front of you with the reality that that person understands. And it's the responsibility of a leader to be able to quickly identify how to communicate to that individual and then be able to um, get them into a place of understanding, right? So communication is three elements to it, right? I've talked about this in the past before. Is affinity, reality, communication. Affinity is how much you like something. Reality is what you both have that's very, very real to both of you. And then, of course, communication is the act of speaking, listening, right? You speak, it goes there, they listen, they respond, come back, you're listening. There's two-way communication, right? And in order to have a really good affinity reality communication and which equals understanding, you need to really be able to focus on the individuals that are in front of you listening because personalities are all different. And one thing that I've learned in filmmaking and in just management in general is that I could say something to someone a little bit more harshly than I can to someone else who's going to maybe spin because it's too much for them. So as a leader, you must be able to separate those things and to understand the communication that you're delivering and who you're delivering it to. And you know, it's not about controlling them, but it's really about helping them do their best work. And in order to do that, you have to be in good communication with them. And in order to be in good communication with them, you have to kind of see where they're coming from so then you can actually give them what they need in order to keep moving forward. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that preparation creates confidence. The more prepared I am before stepping onto a set, the smoother the production runs. Storyboards, shot lists, schedules, rehearsals, and clear communication help everyone understand the mission. I found that this applies just as much to managing artists, producing events, and hosting interviews as it does to filmmaking. The better prepared you are, the more confident your team becomes, and confidence leads to better results. You do have to prepare a lot for when you're doing something, but you have to also understand that no matter how much preparation you have, things are going to happen on set that are unexpected and can be a little frustrating. And you're just like, oh, I had it all prepared and now this happens, right? You have to be even prepared for that, because those little bumps and those little ups and downs, that's what makes that's what makes life, basically, right? I mean, but that it also makes filmmaking and management, where you're talking to different artists, talent management, all this stuff together really accounts for whatever the project is going to become. And that project is dependent on good preparation, good communication. These are the two things that we've talked about so far. Good communication when you're on set, or when you're talking to an artist, if you're thinking of opening up a talent agency, which is why I'm doing these videos, to see if someone wants to do that. If you're interested in just managing a few artists or a lot of artists, or if you want to start booking artists, whatever the case may be, these things matter. And being prepared when you're going out, like if I'm going, I have, you guys already know, I show this book all the time. This is my little my this is my Bible, basically, right, that I'm writing. Um, and everything that I do, I put it in there. Everything that I'm working on is in there. My schedule is in there. Um, Ideas sometimes are in there, and I use it because when I'm going um, anywhere to meet with someone, I have all my notes in there. So I can refer back to them right before my meeting. Sometimes I open it up during the meeting and I tell them, I'm going to look in I got some notes here. I'm going to ask some questions, and they love it. I had a meeting yesterday. I used these little green index cards here, and I wrote down all the stuff on my meeting that I was going to ask the artist. And I think that there's also an appreciation that the other individual feels, because they see that you're coming prepared. That means that you care. If you care about what you're bringing to the table, you're going to care about them, and they feel that. They may not say that, but internally, you bet that they feel that, and they're listening to that. Filmmaking has taught me that no greater no great project is created alone. Every successful film is the result of collaboration, trust, and mutual respect. Some of the best ideas I've ever used didn't come from me. They came from someone on the crew, who saw something I didn't. A good leader creates an environment where people feel comfortable sharing ideas, solving problems together, and taking ownership of the project. When people know they're valued, they become invested in the outcome. So this is really important to also balance, because you may be open to these kind of ideas, but you also have to be a leader. So if the idea comes in and you really don't like the idea, or it moves the project in a different way, or it's too much, the they're going to lose sight of it, then you have to step in and be like, yeah, you know what, I don't really like that idea. We're not going to use that idea. Thank you for the idea, but we're going to move in this direction, because this is where we've been we've been going. At the same time, somebody says an idea, you have to look at it and go, you know what, that's a really good idea. Why don't we try that? Why don't we try her idea? I think that's a really good one. So you have to really be in the moment. This is where one of the episodes on these 20 that I'm doing, I talked about being in present time, being in the moment, being able to be there enough so when people say things, you can respond correctly, and you can actually duplicate it quickly and be like, oh yeah, I like that idea. But if you're in your own head, because oh, I got 10 more shots to do, and the sun is going down, and I need to get these shots done, and I need all the, that's in filmmaking, right? But if you're if you're a leader for any corporation or any company, or anything that you're doing, you have to stay in the moment and listen to what people are suggesting, and then come up with the best idea that's going to keep the company moving forward and keep ideas flowing, but also keep the company relevant and keep being innovative, right? All these things have to be remain in present. And they can only remain in present if you're in present. That's where you got to take deep breaths and look around and be like, okay, get a sip of coffee, and then really start thinking about what it is that you're working on and what it is that's important to this scene or this meeting that you're going into or whatever it is. That's really, really, truly important. At the end here, I'm going to give you 10 things that you can do, 10 things that you can learn um, while you're making films, but that would have to do with like not just film, because this is all about this management in general, right? This is what filmmaking taught me about leadership, right? That's what this episode is about. So perhaps the greatest leadership lesson filmmaking has taught me is to stay calm when things don't go according to plan, which I mentioned a little while ago. Equipment fails, weather changes, locations fall through, actors get sick as a nightmare, and unexpected challenges appear without warning. You can't control every situation, but you can control how you respond. People look to a leader during difficult moments, and I've learned that staying focused, adaptable, and solution oriented builds trust. Whether you're directing a film, managing an artist, leading a business, or simply navigating life, leadership is about helping others move forward, even when the path isn't perfect. Man, it's so true that you have to be solution oriented. That is one of the most key elements to being a leader. When things are going to be thrown at you, they're going to be constantly thrown at you. They're going to be, and people are going to be like, oh, well, I don't know what we're gonna do now. And they're all gonna look at you, and you have to. You can't be like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. You can't. You got to be like, okay, all right, give me a second. Let me think of something, and let's get this resolved. And you come up with an idea. But and you may not have any idea. You may be in your head going, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do right now, but don't give that out. Don't give that away. You want to stay calm. You want to stay relaxed. You want to just think to yourself, okay, I can do this. I can figure this out. But yet you need to be able to always think with the solution, never fall into the problem and stay with the problem. People hate that. When you're like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. That's a big problem. You know, come up with a solution for Christ's sakes. I mean, you can do it. Because anybody, complaining about something and not doing anything about it is insanity, right? What is it? Yeah, whatever. The quote that's out there, right? The insanity is doing the same thing over and over, doing something that doesn't work over and over is it's insanity or something like that. So if something's not working for you and you keep doing it and you keep complaining about it, but you don't do anything about it, that's a sign of insanity. It means you're insane, believe it or not, to a certain degree. If you keep doing something that you know is not working, but you keep doing it, it's like trying to get through a door without turning the doorknob and opening the door, and you keep hitting the wall. I mean, you keep hitting the door, and you keep hitting the door. Why can't I get into this room? Keep hitting, that is insane. So if you're doing the same thing and it's not working, and you're not changing anything, but you keep complaining about it, man, shut up. That is insane. So it's very important to be, a solution oriented when you're working as a leader in any capacity. All right, 10 things you can do to learn while making films, right? So listen to every department. There's a lot of stuff going on in films, right? Learn from your cinematographer, sound mixer, editor, lighting crew, and actors. Every person brings some valuable knowledge. Number two, watch your dailies carefully. So a lot of people don't watch dailies. I watch them sometimes on the day of. I don't go back the next day and watch them. Dailies are basically everything that you shot that day. You go back and see if you got the shot. I do it sometimes right after a shot. Like I know what I'm looking at, and I see the screen, and I know what I want, and then I see the performance. I know what the performance is. So if I'm looking at the performance and the performance is good, the camera is good, the audio is good, I might look at the camera just to see, make sure that the framing is exactly what I wanted, and then I just move on. So some people, especially if you have a bigger budget, you can have the dailies, and after the whole production is done for the night, you go into a little room and you watch everything you shot and see if you didn't miss anything. If you missed something or if something didn't come out right, you make your notes. You hopefully you have enough time to kind of correct those later on. But it's really important to write those down. You have to review the footage with a critical eye to understand what worked and what didn't. Number three is ask questions constantly. Never be afraid to ask experienced crew members why they do the things a certain way. So if you have a cinematographer that's shot a lot, you have to be you have to ask a lot of questions. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this, and not don't do it on set. You do this before with your cinematographer, and you make your notes before you get on set, right? Um, this is the shot, the way I want this shot. This is how I want this shot. I think I want to, and the reason why I want it this way. And then the cinematographer is going to tell you, that's a good idea, but I don't, I think it could be done this way. Or that's not a good idea. I think we should do it this way because blah, 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 blah. And you listen because they're professionals that they know what to do it. So if you're in a company and you're managing a company and you have an accountant and he's a good accountant, has been trained and he's been there for a while, and you ask a question, you got to listen to the professional experience. You got to ask questions and get and let them show you what they know. Number four, learn from your mistakes. This is an obvious one. Every production has challenges. Instead of hiding them, study them and try desperately not to repeat them. So you learn from all those mistakes, right? And that's an obvious thing, not just for filmmaking. Obviously, that's for everything in life. Just learn from those mistakes and don't do them again. Number five, observe great leaders. Read. I read a lot of books. I'm reading right now, The Pellegrin right now. Um, yeah, The Pellegrin. It's a really great book. I'm learning a lot from it. I'm also following, The Way to Happiness, Common Guide to Better Living. I'm reading this little booklet right now, which is the truth about drugs. I'm learning about that, the leaders that run in that, and then I read books about leadership, and I watch videos about leadership, and I follow leaders online like Grant Cardone and Manuel Suarez, Gary Vaynerchuk. I follow these guys, and I love to hear what they have to say, and I learn from them. Observe great, pay attention to directors, producers, and crew leaders who keep a set organized and positive. I watch a lot of those, master class episodes. I watched the one with Ron Howard, the one with Martin Scorsese, a bunch of other ones that I watched, and I learned a lot from listening to them and how they operate on set. The best one I think was Ron Howard, because Ron Howard really took everyone on an actual set while he was shooting a scene. And then at the end of a scene, he would talk to the camera of what he just did and what he saw and how he was communicating. I thought it was brilliant. If you haven't had a chance, get that, just that one. And they're all good. But Martin Scorsese sort of just sat and talked about film. Ron Howard was doing it, talked about storyboarding. He talked about story. It was really, really a great one. Check that one out. Number six, take notes during production. This is obvious. Anytime you're working on anything, you should be taking notes. If you're a filmmaker, obviously keep a filmmaking journal, ideas, lessons, problems, and solutions for future projects. You learn from that, and that's where you write down all your notes, right? Number seven is studying the editing process. So editing was something that's fairly new to me. I learned to edit during the pandemic because I had to, because nobody else could do my films because everybody disappeared on me. And I had a film in the can that I wanted to edit. So what did I do? I went on YouTube and I took a class. I literally did two things. I took a class that I paid for, and then I went on YouTube and I basically taught myself how to edit. And I edited my own film during the pandemic. And during that pandemic, I released a film, which not nobody else that I know even was able to do that, but it was really great. Um, Hercules is on a hurricane. I said Hercules. Hercules or Hurricane. I like both names. What's up? What's up? What's up? So very, very important to actually do that. To learn the editing process, because while you're shooting, now that I have that information, now that I'm shooting, I already know what I'm shooting. I already know how I'm going to edit it. And it's something that you actually become, you're kind of editing the film or the video, whatever you're doing, you're editing it in your head while you're shooting, because you have that experience now and you understand the process. Number 8, build strong relationships. The people you work with today may become your collaborators for years to come. Yeah, I did a whole show on this about networking, right? A couple of different episodes on meeting people and setting up events. All that stuff is really important. The relationships you make today are going to be your tomorrow. So make sure you make good relationships, keep the relationships, respect them. Don't ask for things. Always bring stuff to the table. What can I do for you? How can I help you? It's the best way to do it. And then at some point, you can ask if you need something, but don't just go in asking people for stuff. It's just not ever going to look good, ever. Number 9, experiment on every project. Try a camera technique, a different storytelling approach. So yeah, each time I always try to do something different. With my last film, and on that day, one of the things that I wanted to work with was 6 actors at one time in a scene. I think I did okay. The film got good reviews. Everybody who's watched it really enjoyed it. I'm still promoting it and still sharing it out there. But that was like my biggest challenge. It was, I wanted to have scenes with a lot of actors, dialogue. I wanted to have dialogue. I wanted to have monologues in it. That was another thing that I did that was fairly different, like long monologues. So at the end of the film, there's this long monologue that I really enjoyed writing, and it was a lot of fun. Number 10, finally, here is finish what you start. Sometimes you the greatest lessons often come from when after the project is complete. Completing a film teaches discipline, problem solving, and perseverance in ways that planning alone never can. When you complete something, it is a win. When you're at that last day of shooting, if you're a filmmaker and you say that's a wrap, and everybody's like, yeah, and you did it. Now you got to go back, you got to edit, you got to do all the rest of the stuff, and it's a bigger process. But just completing that is a big deal. And then when the film comes out and you're sitting in the theater and you're sitting there watching your film on the screen, and people are reacting and they're laughing, and or they're not laughing where they should be laughing, and you're like, oh, whatever it is, it's a very, very exciting time for learning. But the fact is that you can say you finished it. I've done 10 films. I'm on my 11th film right now, and every film was a learning experience. There were short films, but there were films and that I wrote, that I cast, that I shot, that I directed, and a lot of them I did edit myself. After during the pandemic, I really got into editing now. But I think it's really important to give yourself a win when you complete something. Give yourself that grace and say, I did it. I completed it. I said I was going to do it and I did it. And here it is. And now I'm going to put it out and be excited about it. And it's a wonderful thing. So always finish what you started. All right. So I hope this information helps you. Closing thoughts here. Every film is a classroom. Every production teaches something new about storytelling, leadership, communication, teamwork, and yourself. The goal isn't just to make better films, it's to become a better leader, because the lessons you learn on set will serve you in business, music, talent management, and every other area in life. Guarantee you that if you're a filmmaker, you're going to use that information to really benefit every single element of your life. You're going to learn so much about just management, managing people, managing artists. It's going to be an incredible opportunity for you, but you have to then stay disciplined, and you have to do these 10 steps that I mentioned here, because it's going to help you. And if you're a filmmaker, you're going to learn how to manage people better. If you're in business, you're going to learn how to manage people better. All these things apply in every type of leadership. Filmmaking is how I learned a lot about leadership and dealing with people and having things go wrong and having to try to figure it out and being solution oriented in everything that I do, that taught me so much. And I learn. I keep it. I don't just go home and forget it. I keep it with me and I use it and I write it down and then I write a blog about it and then I do an episode of my show about it and I give it to the world what I just learned. So these 20 episodes, I'm up to episode 8. This is episode 18. These 20 episodes contain all of that in it. So when you go back and you watch them, watch all 20 of them, and you'll have a much better understanding of how to learn from filmmaking and how to actually network and all those things that I've learned. So, and I'm giving that to you for free. All right, friends. Want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate you all so much for tuning in every morning here, 7 a.m. Central. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's episode is going to be about turning passion into a career. Ooh, that's going to be good. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. We're going to cover that 7 a.m. Central. Join me here for the John Henry Soto Show. I appreciate you being here. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day out there. Take care of each other because we're all we got here on this little blue marble floating through space. It's beautiful. There's a lot of love on this planet, but we need each other. We need art. We need to create and we need to inspire each other. So go out and do that today. See you tomorrow morning. And as always, peace.